Imagine a weapon that allowed not a great warrior, not a hereditary archer, and not an aristocrat, but an ordinary foot soldier to kill an enemy with one movement of his finger. There was no need to train your arms for years like with a powerful bow. There was no need to keep the string pulled back while your muscles burned from exhaustion. A soldier simply loaded the crossbow, waited for the right moment, pulled the trigger, and a heavy bolt flew toward the target. For ancient China, this was not just a new weapon. It was a technology that changed the very idea of war. The main secret of the Chinese crossbow was the bronze trigger mechanism, which held the string instead of a person. The first crossbow. The first crossbows appeared in China around the 6th to 5th century BC, while they came to Europe only in the 10th century. It became popular in China around 475 to 221 BC, during the Warring States period, when China was not yet a unified empire. One of the warring states was the state of Chu, and it is connected with some of the early finds of complex crossbows. The main opponents of Chu were the states of Wei, Han, Qin, Zhao, Qi, and Yan. Qin was a western state that later defeated its rivals and united China into the first Qin Empire. After the fall of Qin, the Han dynasty came to power, and it was under them that the crossbow became one of the main types of weapons in the Chinese army. Who invented the crossbow? We do not know the name of the inventor. In later Chinese traditions, the invention of the repeating crossbow was linked to a man named Qin from the state of Chu, but that does not make him the creator of the first crossbow. Most likely, the crossbow was not the invention of a genius, but the result of the gradual development of weapons. Types of Chinese crossbows. The ordinary hand crossbow was one of the first mass-used crossbows. It consisted of a wooden stock, a horizontal bow made of wood or bamboo, a string made from sinew or hemp fibers, and a bronze trigger mechanism made up of 3 main parts: the nut, the sear, and the trigger mechanism. Another important detail was the short crossbow arrows. These arrows are more correctly called bolts. Crossbow bolts were heavy and around 34 to 42 centimeters long, and their tips were cast from bronze. This crossbow was slower than an ordinary bow, but it was easier to use. An archer had to train for years to shoot quickly and accurately from a powerful bow, while a crossbowman could learn basic shooting much faster. The shooter pulled the string back with his hands and set it into the slot of the bronze wheel, and the mechanism fixed the bolt in the right position. One noticeable downside was that reloading the mechanism required a supporting force of 150 to 200 kilograms. The Qin Dynasty crossbow. Qin was the state that united China. It became known for strict discipline, bureaucracy, record-keeping, and standardization. That is why the crossbow there was not just the weapon of an individual warrior. It was produced, stored, marked, issued, and recorded. The crossbow of the Qin Empire was similar to its predecessor, but after it was introduced on a mass scale, Qin craftsmen slightly improved the weapon. They lengthened the stock, which increased the draw weight, shooting range, and accuracy. The warriors used volley fire tactics. The army released clouds of arrows along a curved trajectory. The repeating crossbow. The repeating crossbow is the most striking type. The earliest prototypes of these crossbows appeared during the Warring States period. The idea was very interesting. In the upper part of the weapon, there was a magazine with several bolts. With one movement of the lever, a person pulled the string, fed the bolt, and fired. This crossbow could shoot much faster than an ordinary one. A soldier could fire 10 arrows in 10 to 15 seconds. But it had a downside. It was weaker and less accurate, and it could not pierce heavy armor. That is why the early repeating crossbow did not replace the powerful military crossbow. It was good for defense, ambushes, protecting a house, gates, or fortresses, and for more effective fighting, people began coating the arrows with poison. But against a well-protected warrior, an ordinary heavy crossbow was more dangerous and more effective. The Han Dynasty crossbow. The basis for this crossbow was also the ordinary hand crossbow, with the same bronze trigger mechanism and wooden stock. But for the bow, craftsmen began using complex composite parts. They glued together wood, animal horn, and animal sinew to increase its power. Since the crossbow became even more important under the Han, different models with different levels of power appeared. Some shot accurately and at a long distance, but loading them was still not easy. The shooter placed the crossbow on the ground, stepped on the bow with his feet, pulled the string upward with his hands and hooked it onto the bronze nut. For mounted riders, weaker models were made. They could be loaded by hand without using the feet, but they did not shoot as accurately or as far. Powerful crossbows were the best weapon against cavalry. They hit hard, could pierce protection, and the short bolts were difficult for an enemy with an ordinary bow to use. Under the Han, crossbows were stored in huge quantities. One later inventory mentions around 100,000 crossbows and millions of bolts. In addition, there was its own quality control system. The release date and the names of the craftsmen were carved into the bronze parts. If the mechanism worked badly, the craftsmen were punished severely. Reload time. An ordinary powerful crossbow shot more slowly than a bow, and reloading it required time and physical strength. A light crossbow took 10 to 15 seconds to reload, while an ordinary military one took 15 to 30 seconds. With a heavy crossbow, it was a little more complicated. Sometimes a special drawing device was needed, so reloading could take up to 1 minute. But an important advantage was the ability to keep the crossbow ready after reloading. An archer's arms would get tired, and he would not be able to hold the string for as long. How much did a crossbow cost? During the Han era, the main currency was the bronze coin. Exact data and prices have not survived, but based on approximate cost and purchasing power, we can say that a simple wooden crossbow, without complex decoration, could cost around 300 to 700 coins. By modern standards, that is from $600 to $2,000. A standard crossbow with a bronze trigger mechanism could cost around 1,000 to 2,500 coins. That is about $2,000 to $7,000. A good crossbow with a high-quality bow, a bronze mechanism, and precisely fitted parts could cost from 3,000 to 6,000 coins, or from $6,000 to $18,000 in a modern conversion. A repeating crossbow can be estimated at 800 to 2,000 coins, or $1,500 to $2,000. The ammunition was called crossbow bolts. A simple bolt cost around 1 to 3 coins, while a higher quality one with a good tip was valued at 3 to 8 coins. By modern standards, the price of a bolt was from $2 to $25 each. Who used crossbows? The main users were soldiers. The crossbow was especially suited for infantry. Large units could be armed with it, placed behind shields, on walls, in the defense of gates, or in ambushes. Crossbowmen were useful against chariots, cavalry, and dense formations. They could stand behind spearmen or shield bearers and fire in volleys. Crossbows were also used by garrisons, guards, hunters, and sometimes wealthy people. During the Han era, a ban on private ownership of bows and crossbows was indeed discussed. The reason was clear. The crossbow gave dangerous power to a person without long military training. That is why peasants and common people could have restricted access to military crossbows, especially powerful models. The state controlled arsenals, production, storage, and the issuing of weapons. The technology that changed the balance of power. The crossbow suited China during the Warring States period because soldiers did not need to be trained for years to use it, unlike archers. The important skills for shooting a crossbow were loading, aiming, keeping formation, and shooting on command. The crossbow was a weapon of the system. The bow remained a weapon of skill, while the Chinese crossbow became a weapon of the state.